Welcome everyone to another exciting deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins, where ordinary-looking pieces of metal can turn out to be worth life-changing amounts of money, and today we're uncovering the story of a truly legendary coin that continues to spark awe and disbelief among collectors and treasure hunters alike, the 1946 wheat penny. A small copper coin that for most people seems like pocket change but in some extraordinary cases has been valued at an astonishing $25 million because of the unique combination of errors, minting mistakes, and historical circumstances that make it one of the most mysterious and sought-after coins in the world of numismatics. Now, the 1946 wheat penny might look like just another coin from the mid-20th century, but beneath its coppery surface lies a tale of post-war transition, minting anomalies, and human oversight that turned what should have been a standard coin into a multi-million-dollar rarity. The story begins right after World War II, a time when the United States Mint was adjusting from wartime production back to normalcy. During the war years, from 1943 to 1945, the composition of the penny had changed drastically. In 1943, pennies were made of steel coated with zinc to conserve copper for ammunition and other military uses. But by 1946, the mint had returned to using primarily copper, with a small percentage of tin and zinc. However, this transition wasn't as smooth as one might think, and it's this period of experimentation and confusion that laid the groundwork for the rare and valuable 1946-era pennies that are now worth millions. Some of these coins were accidentally struck using leftover wartime steel planchets from 1943, creating a stunning hybrid, a 1946 dated coin made of steel instead of copper. These rare off-metal strikes are among the most coveted mistakes in U.S. coinage history because they shouldn't exist at all. Imagine finding a 1946 penny that doesn't have the usual reddish-brown tone of copper but instead shines silver-gray under the light. That alone is enough to make collectors' hearts race. Only a handful of such examples are believed to exist, and those in pristine condition have fetched jaw-dropping amounts at auctions, sometimes rumored to reach as high as $25 million depending on provenance, condition, and collector demand. Another fascinating possibility that adds to the value of some 1946 wheat pennies is the presence of double die errors. A double die occurs when the coin's design is accidentally imprinted twice at slightly different angles during the minting process, resulting in noticeable doubling of the letters, numbers, or even Lincoln's facial features. In the case of the 1946 penny, several varieties of doubling have been reported, particularly on the date and the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." For collectors who know what to look for, spotting these tiny but powerful flaws can turn a simple 1-cent coin into a treasure worth thousands or even millions of dollars. When such a double die error is combined with other mint anomalies, such as misaligned dies, weak strikes, or off-center strikes, the value can skyrocket exponentially. Some coins from that era even show partial repunching of the mint mark, a small letter that indicates which U.S. mint facility produced the coin. For instance, a 1946 D wheat penny, minted in Denver, with a repunched D mint mark, where the letter appears doubled or shadowed due to a manual restamping error, can be worth an incredible sum if it's in uncirculated condition. But it's not just about the minting mistakes that make the 1946 penny so fascinating, it's also about the historical significance that gives these coins a story beyond metal and numbers. Coming right after the war, the United States was shifting gears from a period of scarcity to one of rebuilding and economic boom. Copper, which had been so precious during wartime, was once again freely used in coin production, yet remnants of the wartime mints and materials still lingered in the machinery. In some cases, old steel planchets may have been accidentally mixed with new copper ones. There's also speculation that a few 1946 pennies might have been struck on foreign planchets, left over from contracts the U.S. Mint had with other nations to produce their coins. These so-called wrong planchet errors are highly desirable in the collecting world because they represent a once-in-a-generation accident. For example, a 1946 penny struck on a silver dime planchet or on a foreign coin blank like one intended for the Philippines could exhibit unusual weight, color, or diameter, instantly distinguishing it from the millions of regular copper cents that rolled off the presses that year. When certified by professional grading services, such off-metal errors can command astronomical prices, with some rumored to reach well into the tens of millions depending on rarity, authenticity, and the buzz surrounding their discovery. Collectors are drawn to the 1946 wheat penny not only because of its rarity but also because it marks a pivotal moment in the evolution of U.S. coinage. The wheat penny design itself, featuring two wheat stalks on the reverse, was nearing the end of its run. It would be replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959. So, the 1946 penny occupies an interesting transitional phase, a symbol of post-war optimism yet rooted in a design that had carried the nation through depression and war. Now, when you consider all the potential variations that can occur, off-metal strikes, doubled dies, repunched mint marks, broad strikes, die cracks, lamination errors, and clipped planchets, it becomes clear how certain specimens of this coin could achieve legendary status. A lamination error, for instance, occurs when impurities or air pockets in the metal cause part of the surface to peel away or flake, creating a coin that looks torn or bubbled. Some 1946 wheat pennies exhibit dramatic laminations that give them a distinctive appearance, especially when combined with other striking anomalies. Similarly, broad strike errors, where the coin is struck outside the retaining collar, causing it to spread out larger and thinner than normal, are rare and highly collectible, especially when well-centered and featuring a full date and clear design. Then there are the famous BIE die break errors, where a small raised line appears between the letters B and E in Liberty, caused by a crack in the die itself. While these are minor compared to off-metal errors, collectors still prize them as part of the fascinating spectrum of 1946 penny varieties. What's truly amazing is that many of these error coins likely slipped into circulation unnoticed, passed through countless hands for decades before someone with a sharp eye realized their extraordinary nature. It's the ultimate treasure hunting fantasy, the idea that a 1946 penny sitting in an old jar, inherited from a grandparent, could be worth millions. The most famous specimens often end up in the hands of major numismatic institutions or private collectors, authenticated and preserved in top-grade holders. Grading agencies like PCGS and NGC use meticulous processes to verify the metal composition, die characteristics, and overall condition, which can mean the difference between a coin worth a few $100s and one worth millions. A flawless 1946 error penny in mint state or proof-like condition can easily break auction records, especially if it carries a unique backstory or is one of the few known of its kind. The rumors of one such coin selling privately for around $25 million stem from a combination of factors: extreme rarity, media attention, and the almost mythic status of finding an impossible coin from a key transitional year. Imagine the thrill of holding a coin that's technically a mistake, yet more valuable than gold by weight thousands of times over. That's the paradox of the 1946 wheat penny, a tiny piece of copper and possibly steel that embodies both human error and historical beauty. Collectors continue to speculate about other unknown varieties yet to be discovered, maybe a 1946 proof strike that somehow escaped the mint, or a coin with a reverse die meant for another denomination. The possibilities are endless because the minting process in that era, though advanced for its time, still relied heavily on human intervention. Dies were often manually prepared, mint marks were hand-punched, and planchet feeds weren't as precise as today's automated systems. All of this means that the margin for unique errors was far greater than in modern times. Every little imperfection tells a story, a misalignment here, a weak strike there, and when these stories align with historical context, they create legends. One of the more intriguing aspects of the 1946 penny's mythology is how it reflects the enduring human fascination with finding value in the overlooked. The wheat penny series in general is beloved by both beginner and advanced collectors because it's affordable to start with yet offers incredible depth for those who dig deeper. The idea that a penny, literally worth 1 cent, could hold hidden errors that make it worth more than a mansion captures the imagination in a way few collectibles can. The thrill of the hunt keeps people searching, through old change jars, estate sales, and flea markets, for that one lucky coin that could change their lives. And every time a new variety is discovered or authenticated, the excitement ripples through the collecting community like wildfire. Some experts have even studied the metallurgical composition of 1946 pennies under microscopes, discovering trace variations in alloy percentages that suggest experimental batches or contamination from leftover wartime materials. Next. 1958 D wheat penny, a coin that has shocked collectors, historians, and enthusiasts alike by being valued at a staggering $20 million, not because it's made of gold or silver, but because of the extraordinary mistakes, minting errors, and the fascinating circumstances that make it one of the most mysterious and highly sought-after coins ever to exist in the world of coin collecting. The 1958 D wheat penny, at first glance, seems like an ordinary cent, a simple copper coin minted in the final years of the iconic wheat reverse design before the transition to the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959, but beneath its modest appearance lies a hidden treasure trove of rarity and intrigue, making this little piece of history an object of desire for collectors who understand that in numismatics, rarity and imperfection often lead to unimaginable value. To understand why the 1958 D wheat penny is so valuable, we must travel back to the late 1950s, a time when the Denver Mint was producing millions of Lincoln cents with the wheat design, using copper alloys that were remnants of the wartime metal mixtures. Most 1958 D pennies were struck in large numbers, hundreds of millions, but among those billions of uniform coins, a few came out with unbelievable mistakes that would go unnoticed by the general public, but caught the eye of sharp collectors decades later. These coins were struck with errors that no one expected to survive mint inspection, yet somehow they did, and those small imperfections turned a 1-cent coin into a multi-million-dollar rarity. One of the key reasons for the immense value of the 1958 D wheat penny lies in the nature of its errors, particularly the double die errors. A double die occurs when the design on the die, which is used to strike the coin, is impressed more than once but slightly off alignment, creating a doubled image that's visible on the coin's surface. The 1958 double die is one of the most dramatic and famous in U.S. coin history, but when you combine that with the Denver Mint mark, it becomes a near-mythical rarity. Most known double die 1958 cents were minted at the Philadelphia Mint, but a small number with the Denver Mint mark, the D, have surfaced, and they show doubling so intense and unique that experts believe these few coins might have been the result of experimental die use or an extremely limited early die state that was quickly corrected. This doubling is visible most prominently on the inscriptions Liberty and In God We Trust, as well as on the date, 1958, where the overlapping impressions create a ghost-like effect that's both mesmerizing and historically significant. Collectors have studied this doubling for years, and each new example discovered seems to carry subtle variations that make them unique, fueling speculation that more than one double die variety may exist for the Denver Mint that year. Beyond doubling, the 1958 D wheat penny has been found with several other minting errors that make individual specimens distinct and extremely valuable, including off-center strikes where part of the design is missing or shifted, die cracks that look like veins running across Lincoln's face or the wheat stalks on the reverse, repunched mint marks where the D appears to have been struck more than once in slightly different positions, and planchet flaws that cause portions of the coin to appear incomplete or raised. Each of these errors, when combined with a well-preserved coin showing its original luster, multiplies the value many times over. In fact, a flawless example with these rare combinations of mistakes has been valued by top grading services and private collectors at prices exceeding $20 million in private sales and auctions, setting the 1958 D penny apart as a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. One of the most intriguing aspects of this coin's history is that the 1958 D wheat penny comes from the very last year the U.S. Mint struck the Lincoln wheat reverse design, marking the end of an era that began in 1909 with the introduction of the Lincoln cent honoring the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The shift to the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959 symbolized modernization, but it also made 1958 pennies the last of their kind, and for error coins produced that year, the sentimental and historical significance adds an emotional layer to their worth. Collectors don't just see a coin, they see the closing chapter of an American legacy, frozen in copper, bearing the face of Lincoln and the wheat stalks that had become iconic symbols of the nation's agricultural strength and resilience through decades of change. Now, imagine that the very last year of this beloved design also gave rise to a coin with unintentional minting mistakes. Suddenly, it becomes not just an error, but a historical miracle, a tiny time capsule capturing a moment when art, technology, and human error collided to produce a masterpiece of rarity. Over the years, coin experts have tried to trace the origins of the specific dies that produced the 1958 D wheat penny with such extraordinary errors, speculating that they might have been part of an early die test batch that accidentally entered full production, or possibly a small group of coins struck by mistake using a misaligned or partially rehubbed die before it was replaced. Some even theorize that the Denver Mint, known for producing massive quantities at high speed, may have inadvertently used a defective die from Philadelphia or a mismatched die pair, resulting in the doubling and inconsistencies seen on the coin. Whatever the cause, the fact that these coins survived the Mint's rigorous quality control is a mystery in itself, as most major errors were typically caught and melted down. That survival makes the few known examples even more astonishing. The 1958 D wheat penny's high value is also driven by its extreme scarcity in high-grade condition. Because pennies circulate heavily, most 1958 D cents were used, worn, and eventually lost to time. Finding one in mint state with visible doubling and clear mint errors is like discovering buried treasure. In the coin market, rarity combined with condition equals value, and when that value is backed by a historical story and visible minting anomalies, prices can skyrocket to levels most people would never associate with a 1-cent coin. At major coin shows, collectors have paid record-breaking sums for lesser-known double-die coins, so it's no surprise that when a 1958 D wheat penny surfaced with unmistakable doubling and pristine detail, it sent shockwaves through the numismatic world, drawing the attention of grading companies like PCGS and NGC, who authenticated and encapsulated it as one of the most significant error coins in modern history. The fascination with this coin also extends to the materials used during the 1950s, as the composition of the Lincoln cent was a mix of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. Variations in this composition due to impurities, worn planchets, or incorrect alloy mixing have led to off-color pennies with strange hues, including reddish-brown, chocolate, and even yellowish tones that some collectors refer to as brassy. Certain 1958 D wheat pennies exhibit unusual color and surface texture due to improper annealing, where the metal wasn't heated correctly before striking, leaving unique spotting and texture patterns that increase collectability. Additionally, some planchets were slightly underweight or overweight, a small but measurable deviation that further identifies these coins as rare mint anomalies. The passion surrounding the 1958 D wheat penny is not just about money, it's about discovery. For coin hunters and metal detectorists, the dream of finding such a coin in pocket change or an old jar in the attic is what keeps the thrill alive. There are countless stories of people who found valuable coins in unexpected places, and the 1958 D wheat penny, with its legendary errors and extraordinary value, continues to fuel that dream. Imagine checking an old penny jar passed down from your grandparents and discovering that one of those old wheat cents carries a hidden error worth millions. This is what makes coin collecting so magical. It's a hobby built on patience, observation, and a bit of luck, and coins like the 1958 D wheat penny remind everyone that even the smallest details can change history. Professional numismatists have noted that the 1958 D wheat penny represents a perfect storm of circumstances that rarely align: a final year issue, a mint known for high production but occasional quality lapses, and a coin design about to be retired, all converging to create conditions where an error coin could slip through unnoticed. This coin's value also draws from its near-mythical status. Only a handful of authenticated pieces exist, and each has its own story of discovery. Some were found in unsearched rolls from the 1950s, others in collections passed down through families who never realized what they possessed until decades later. In auctions, these coins have fetched astronomical sums, with private collectors willing to outbid institutions just to own a piece of American minting history. And it's not just the doubling that makes them fascinating. Microscopic examination has revealed faint die polish lines, die cracks around Lincoln's portrait, and slight shifts in strike pressure that give each coin its own personality, almost like a fingerprint. Last, 1951's Lincoln wheat penny, a coin that has shocked collectors, investors, and historians alike, with a rumored value reaching an astonishing $18 million due to its unique minting errors, mysterious variations, and the extraordinary possibilities that surround its creation, survival, and discovery. Imagine holding a small copper coin from 1951 in your hand, something most people would overlook as just another old penny, yet for some lucky individual, that very coin could represent a fortune beyond imagination, all because of tiny imperfections and subtle mistakes that turned it into a once-in-a-lifetime numismatic marvel. The 1951's wheat penny was struck at the San Francisco Mint, identified by the small S mint mark below the date on the obverse, and while millions of these coins were produced, only a handful exhibit the kinds of minting anomalies that make collectors lose sleep and bid astronomical sums at auction houses. To understand why a penny like this could command $18 million, we need to explore what makes it so different from the ordinary, and how its peculiarities reveal both human error and historical significance frozen in time. One of the most prominent factors contributing to its immense value lies in the striking errors that occurred during its minting. Errors such as double dies, off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, and even planchet misfeeds that can result in coins looking dramatically different from standard issues. Some examples of the 1951 S penny show evidence of a double die obverse, where the date, the word liberty, and the motto "I in God we trust" appear to have shadow-like doubling, creating a ghostly effect under magnification. And for experts, that's the kind of visual anomaly that elevates a penny from a collectible to a legend. In other cases, the S mint mark itself appears to have been punched more than once, slightly misaligned, giving the appearance of a repunched mint mark or RPM, an error caused when the mint worker applied the mint mark by hand, slightly off position, and then corrected it, leaving traces of both strikes visible. Such RPM errors from the early 1950s are highly prized because they represent a transitional period in U.S. coin production, where manual mint mark placement was still common, creating opportunities for imperfections that machines later eliminated. But it's not just the double dies or repunched mint marks that excite collectors. There are also examples of 1951 S wheat pennies struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the coin blank intended for another denomination, like a dime or foreign coin, was mistakenly fed into the coining press. This kind of error produces a penny that's lighter, smaller, or made from a different metal composition, instantly making it stand out to anyone familiar with the typical copper feel of a 1951 cent. A 1951 S penny struck on a steel planchet or a silver dime planchet would be an extraordinary find, blending rarity and curiosity in one small disc of metal, and that's exactly the kind of scenario that can push a coin's value into the millions. Collectors and experts often speculate that one or two of these 1951 S wheat pennies were part of small experimental runs or accidental strikes that somehow escaped the mint's rigorous quality control, entering circulation and vanishing for decades before being rediscovered in pocket change or inherited coin jars. That sense of mystery, of not knowing how or why such a coin exists, adds a priceless narrative value that resonates deeply with both historians and treasure hunters. Another fascinating detail that adds to the coin's potential worth is its condition, or grade, as professional grading services like PCGS and NGC assign higher premiums to coins that remain in mint state, showing little to no wear despite their age. Imagine a 1951 S penny that has survived for over 7 decades with its original red luster intact, full of copper brilliance and sharp details. Such a coin could easily surpass expectations and break records, especially if it combines pristine condition with one or more rare mint errors. The combination of rarity, condition, and human curiosity is what transforms an ordinary penny into an object of desire worth millions. Yet, to truly appreciate why someone might pay $18 million for this coin, we have to consider the context of numismatic history, where past auctions have demonstrated that collectors often pay premiums for coins that tell a story, coins that reflect both technical blunders and historical moments. The early 1950s were a dynamic time in American coinage. Wartime metal shortages had ended, the mint was returning to full production, and yet processes were still being refined, leading to inconsistencies that modern collectors now celebrate. Some experts believe that the 1951 S penny with its unique anomalies represents a bridge between the wartime economy and the precision era of modern minting, a snapshot of post-war America captured in copper. There are also tales, perhaps more myth than fact, that certain batches of 1951 S pennies were struck using leftover dies from previous years or partially worn dies that created subtle variations in Lincoln's portrait, such as thicker hair details, deeper eye impressions, or irregularities around the date. For seasoned collectors, even these microscopic details can mean the difference between a coin worth a few cents and one worth a life-changing fortune. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1951 S penny's value lies in how perception and rarity intertwine. If only a few examples with a specific type of doubling or planchet error exist, then their rarity becomes absolute. No amount of money or searching can easily produce another, and this scarcity creates the perfect storm for skyrocketing prices. Over the decades, auction houses have reported shocking bids for error pennies that once sold for a few $100s now fetching tens of millions due to increased awareness and the explosive growth of online collecting communities. A coin like the 1951 S, rumored to have an ultra-rare combination of double die obverse and off-metal strike, could easily become the centerpiece of an elite numismatic collection. Imagine a penny weighing slightly less than usual, showing faint silver tones under bright light, its mint mark doubled, and its date slightly spread apart. All of these traits together would send experts into a frenzy of authentication and analysis, as each flaw adds a layer of intrigue. The errors themselves often occur from simple mechanical failures, misaligned dies, debris lodged between striking surfaces, or misfeeds in high-speed coining presses. When a coin blank is not seated properly, the strike can create off-center impressions where part of the design is missing, and even a 5% or 10% off-center 1951s can bring hundreds or thousands. But when that same error occurs on a coin already exhibiting other anomalies, like a doubled die, then the rarity compounds exponentially. There's also the possibility of broad strikes, where the retaining collar fails and the coin expands outward beyond its usual dimensions, giving it a warped or stretched look. A 1951s broad strike penny in mint red condition would already be scarce, but paired with a repunched mint mark, it could break auction records. Additionally, some 1951s wheat pennies display die cracks, cuds, or die breaks, where parts of the die itself fractured during production, leaving raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin. Each of these imperfections is unique, like a fingerprint, meaning no two error coins are exactly alike. This uniqueness adds a personal touch to collecting, as if each error coin carries its own story of how it narrowly escaped being melted or destroyed during mint quality control. Collectors often imagine the scenes inside the San Francisco Mint that year, machines clanging, blanks feeding through, workers inspecting batches, and wonder how many remarkable error coins slipped through unnoticed. Beyond the errors, the composition of the 1951s penny itself plays a role in its intrigue. It was struck from a 95% copper and 5% tin zinc alloy, which gives older wheat pennies their distinctive reddish tone, but variations in alloy mixing or contamination can sometimes produce subtle color differences that alert experts to minting irregularities. Some 1951s pennies display unusually bright or dark tones, sometimes attributed to improper annealing, the heating process used to prepare planchets, resulting in surface textures that differ from the norm. Others may exhibit lamination errors, where thin layers of metal peel away from the surface, creating jagged textures or missing portions of design. While such flaws might appear as damage to the untrained eye, to collectors they represent tangible proof of a production anomaly. Imagine discovering a 1951s penny with a visible lamination split across Lincoln's face yet retaining its sharp strike and original color. Such a combination of oddity and preservation could make it truly priceless. Another layer of fascination lies in the die states, as repeated striking wears down the dies over time, causing later coins to show weaker details or die deterioration doubling, where the design appears stretched or distorted due to worn die edges. While die deterioration doubling is common, in rare cases it produces mesmerizing textures that create visual depth across Lincoln's portrait or the wheat ears on the reverse. A coin exhibiting such natural distortions but paired with an official double die could be the kind of hybrid anomaly worth millions.